Playoffs? Yes, the NFL playoffs are officially here. Stay tuned for the latest and greatest NFL injury report and best bets so you can win big this wild card weekend.
Here we go.
This wild card weekend injury report and best bets edition of the Degen Docs on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code SGPNDOC to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Welcome, Degens, far and wide, to another edition of the Degen Docs. What is up, folks? I'm one of your hosts here, the OG Degen Doc himself, and I am joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, a.k.a. Professor Locks. How you doing tonight, brother?
Not too bad. It sounds like the intern's been hustling. Got a new intro. Shortened down a little bit. Sounds good still.
Look, man, it is the postseason. It is, first of all, let's just get right to it. It is arguably the best stretch of football in our lives. I mean, maybe ever, right?
Yeah,
hopefully
this I can remember.
I mean, this is hopefully a reoccurring thing, but for 5 straight days starting tonight, we have playoff postseason football. Do or die, win or go home, starting with Notre Dame, Penn State tonight. So I figured, look, playoffs are here. We're definitely NFL. This is our bread and butter is the NFL. But why don't we spend a couple of these first minutes here? I mean, look, I know you're a Buckeyes guy, so I got to imagine you're taking Ohio State. But what about tonight? Notre Dame, Penn State, essentially a pick 'em at this point. You've got Notre Dame's running back, Jeremiah Love. He's banged up. You got the best player on Penn State in Abdul Carter. He's banged up. Kind of a wash on the injury front. Who do you got? Kicks off about 30 minutes here.
Yeah, I think the Natty ends up being the Marcus Freeman Bowl. If you aren't aware, Marcus Freeman played for the Buckeyes during his collegiate career. And, they have played the last couple years, and the Buckeyes have fared pretty well in those matchups. So I'm hoping, as long as Ohio State takes business on Friday, I don't really care who wins this game. But I'm going with Notre Dame tonight. I just think that their offense just has a little bit more going. I have just not been a fan of Penn State's offense all year. Obviously, the running game is what it is. They got a couple stud running backs that have gotten going, but I think Notre Dame takes care of them.
Yeah, I agree. And forgive me, folks, but I got too excited. I will cheers to you. Cheers to the audience. Cheers to this awesome week of football here. Woo! I appreciate y'all joining us. We appreciate y'all joining us. And I agree with you, man. I am on Notre Dame money line.
Okay.
That is the play for me. I like Riley Leonard over Drew Aller in the kind of simplistic terms. I also I think Marcus Freeman is a better coach than James Franklin. I think there's a case to be made that he
outcoached Kirby Smart. Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, what has James Franklin done really in big games? I mean, they've gotten an easier schedule to come here, getting taken care of SMU and Boise State there. But I think it is going to be a really good game. I ultimately think it's going to be a defensive battle. Give me a 21-17 Notre Dame win. And that might be where we stop agreeing. Officially, I'm on Notre Dame money line and the over in the game on Friday, 53.5. I do not love either side. I think part of my not liking Ohio State is kind of getting in the way of this. So I do have a small on technical line. Honestly, it's because everybody and their mom is on Ohio State. So I'm just like, can these guys really do it? My eyes and my brain is telling me that they are the best team in the nation, but my heart and my kind of intuition to fade the public, that's where I'm at there. So I won't flat out say, I think Texas is going to dominate. I just think it's a shootout.
Don't just say that.
I would like to raise a toast, and I'm going to do it by Owens!
Hey.
I got to delete that from the studio.
Come on over to the good side. You know you want to.
Yes, for those that were unaware, that was a one-time thing at Derek's wedding as a toast. As one of the groomsmen, I decided to be nice. Clearly, it is. I'm eating shit for it. All right, folks. Look, that's enough of that. We've got a ton to talk about. We've got a bunch of injury news to get to. We've got our best bets. We've got prop bets. We've got everything for you. And before we talk about that, look, the NFL playoffs are here. You know that. We know that. You got to make sure you check out the main ship, the mothership. That's the Sports Gaming Podcast for all of your NFL picks and props. Listen to us, see what we say. You listen to Sean and Ryan, see what they say, and you figure out what you want to tell. All right, man. You ready to get into this?
Let's roll.
Okay. So we're going to start with our bread and butter expert injury analysis here. That's what we do. We're going to go actually team by team for this one. No need to go incredibly fast. I know he's calling it fastest 3 minutes, but this is important. There's 6 games here as we dwindle down in the games. Each of the matchups kind of getting points. So we'll actually go by team. Why don't you start us off with the Los Angeles Chargers? What's their injury situation?
Yeah. Well, let's start off with a couple running backs. Gus Edwards is off of the injury report, which is a good sign for them, because JK has been dealing with some ankle things, but he has been limited all week. He's marked as questionable. I fully expect him to give it a go and have a pretty good day down in Houston. On the wide receiver front, Josh Palmer will be out, but Quentin Johnson was a limited practice today. He's questionable. Again, it's the playoffs. I expect him to suit up and get rolling. But then Jasir Taylor has been ruled doubtful for the game. So starting nickelback, we'll see if he gives it a try. But again, doubtful. So that is not really necessarily a good sign.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anyone go from doubtful to playing this season in the NFL. It's very, very rare. I know playoffs are a different beast, but Chargers definitely a little bit.
The rib injury, those are just really hard to play through pain-wise. It's just through the roof anytime you move. So
yeah, any rotation, especially for a defensive back as you're trying to, go up for a ball and anything like that. So, Chargers definitely the more beat up team, having Palmer out, likely they're starting nickelback, JK a little bit beat up. I think Quentin Johnson, more of an illness type deal. The thigh injury is a thing, but I think he picked up the illness, and that's what caused him to be a little bit more limited. Houston, on the other hand, they're a bit healthier. The big one, Will Anderson Jr., he kind of didn't play last week, popped up with the hand thing. He fully practiced all week, so really no concerns on him. The one guy they did rule out, starting lineman, guard Shaq Mason, is going to be out. That is a big deal because this offensive line has been the weak point of this team. They've let up a ton of pressure, a ton of sacks on C.J. Stroud. It's clearly affected his ability. Obviously, Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell going down did as well. But this offensive line was already not a good unit. You don't want to lose a starting piece, and that's what they're up against as they go up against, Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. And then a couple guys who are limited, but I also expect to play, kind of like you said, it's playoffs. These guys are practicing. You've got John Mechie, wide receiver, dealing with the shoulder. Denico Autry dealing with a knee injury, and then linebacker Christian Harris with an ankle. All of them fully practiced today. So, although they're labeled as questionable, I would look at them as more as probable. I do expect all of those guys to go, though.
Yeah. Let's switch over to the night game on Saturday. Baltimore, Zay Flowers. We highlighted him on the Monday show with that LCL injury that he picked up in week 18. Knee injury. He hasn't practiced at all. He is out for this game. So definitely a massive loss for Lamar Jackson and that Baltimore offense. On the other hand, Justice Hill, Kyle Hamilton, both of those guys have been practicing the last few days. They should be good to go. Justice Hill off that concussion, and then Kyle Hamilton he's been beat up off and on throughout the season, but recently with a knee injury. But those guys should be good to go.
Yeah. No, the Zay Flowers thing, we've been talking about it really from the jump, that it's going to be very hard for him to be out there. It's typically a 3 to 4 week type injury. He didn't practice at all this week, guys. So even if they do win and move on, there's no guarantee that Zay Flowers will be in the lineup next week. For their opponent, Pittsburgh Steelers, coming in fairly healthy as well. No starters are ruled out. The only one who's questionable is starting offensive guard, who was already a backup, as you mentioned, rookie Mason McCormick. He broke his hand. He did practice in a limited fashion all week. I think he's going to try to give it a go. It's just going to be like, how does that hand handle it, right? A little bit there. But Chris Boswell and Cam Hayward popped up with an illness on the injury report. They are both off the injury report and good to go. So Pittsburgh pretty much at full strength going up against a Ravens team that is healthy, but one of their best wide receiver is going to be out. So definitely going to add some interest to this one.
Let's jump to the Sunday slate. Let's start in Buffalo-Denver game. Buffalo is really pretty healthy coming in. Amari Cooper with that back injury and the personal thing. We were kind of figuring that that he would be back for this one, even though Sean McDermott tried to throw us off a little bit, but he's back. Terrell Bernard, the linebacker with that quad injury, he's been practicing. So fully healthy really for that Buffalo team up there in the cold Buffalo air.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, Buffalo's healthy and so is Denver. Actually, they don't even have really anyone on their injury report. They got a couple backup guys, but all starters expected to play, all fully practicing, all very healthy. So, you just talked about Buffalo, but Denver, this is going to be a game where pretty much the best 11 guys on the best 11 guys. So that, that's what we all want to see. So not any really injury impacts there for that one.
No doubt. Let's switch to Green Bay. We again highlighted Jordan Love on the Monday show with that hand injury. He was dealing with a nerve thing, basically like he hit his funny bone, just maybe a little bit more severe than normal, but he's been practicing. He's good to go. Quay Walker, the linebacker, dealing with that ankle injury, and then Evan Williams, the safety, and then nickelback Javon Ballard all are expected back as well. On the other hand, a couple guys that will be out, Jair Alexander, cornerback with a PCL, is still beat up. Don't expect him to go. And then Christian Watson, that was something that just popped up this past week, went down without contact, which is just never a good sign, especially when they need to come out with some help to get him off of their ACL tear. He's out for the rest of the season.
Yeah. No, yeah. Green Bay.
Most of next season too.
Yeah, he's we'll talk about that one, but probably more in the offseason. But yeah, with how late that happened, he's definitely gonna be hampered, not being able to start the next season. Probably, we're looking at maybe a midseason return there. Philadelphia on the other side, we'll start with the good news. Starting quarterback Jalen Hurts, full practice today. He had a limited practice yesterday. We've talked about it, fully expect him to clear, no issues there. Now, where there is a little bit of trouble in paradise, and this is an interesting one, A.J. Brown did not practice this week with a knee injury. He's been dealing with a knee injury for the past couple weeks. He didn't practice at all last week. Where I typically, it's rest, not a big deal. But where I'm a little bit out of a concern is it was reported he came out for practice yesterday, practiced for about 10 minutes, and then went back inside and never came out and then didn't practice again. So, clearly, yes, I expect A.J. Brown to play. I'm not saying he's not going to play anything like that, but he's clearly not 100%. Yeah. And, if he aggravates that knee during the game and isn't able to play, we just saw what this team looks like without him. Flashback to a year ago in the wild card round against Tampa. This is a different team without him. I mean, I know they have Saquon Barkley. I get it. But without A.J. Brown, you can really load the box and really try to force that passing tactic to kind of get after you. So this kind of throws a wrench into things. With the A.J. Brown news. Again, not saying he's not going to play or anything crazy like that, but there's clearly something going on here. So this is one to watch and definitely something you should factor into your handicap.
No doubt. Let's switch to the Washington-Tampa Bay game. It's a week late, but we're going to get to see that Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Evans matchup that we're so used to seeing back when Marshawn was down in New Orleans. He's been dealing with a hamstring for pretty much the back half of the season here. And he has been back on the practice field the last 2 days. Fully expect him to go, although this is the second time he's been dealing with this hamstring injury. So could it pop back up? Potentially. On the other hand, Tyler Biotish, Cornelius Lucas, Frankie Lavu were limited, all expected to play, definitely, but definitely some beat up offensive lineman and linebacker there.
Yeah. No, Marshawn Lattimore practicing full practice twice is huge. He was a big question mark coming in. He was a big question mark for me, big question mark for the team. It looks like he's going to be able to definitely at least give it a go. I think obviously with the hamstring injuries and their high re-injury risk, he's already re-injured it. that's a concern. But 2 full practices, you got to start feeling confident. It makes me definitely have a pause to just go out there and take Mike Evans, because against this team, typically, against St. Juice and some of the other corners, he's definitely got the edge, but Lattimore's really, really locked him up. So on the Tampa Bay side, some good injury news for them as well. Starting tight end Cade Otton has his first full practice since he picked up his injury a few weeks ago. And then Antoine Winfield, the star safety for them, he's had 2 full practices himself. So him, much like Marshawn Lattimore, they're trending in the right direction. So this is big there. Both these teams getting healthy at the right time.
Finally, last game of the NFL slate, last game of the weekend. Well, I guess it's even Monday. Minnesota and the Rams. Minnesota definitely coming in pretty healthy. Really, the only, I guess you could say, concern is Aaron Jones and that quad injury. He's had a limited practice. Should be all good to go, though.
Yeah, Minnesota's healthy. The Rams, for the most part, are pretty healthy as well. You do have running back number 2, Blake Corum, which we talked about on Monday. He broke his forearm. He's out for the playoffs. He's done for the season. And also right tackle Rob Heidenstein with his shoulder is expected to make his return back to the lineup there. So other than their RB2, I mean, again, both these teams very healthy, similar to the Buffalo-Denver matchup. So really, best 11 on 11. So exactly how we want to see the playoffs match up. And that's what we're going to get. So, the nice part is we do have some major injuries, some big news, but there's not a ton. A lot of teams able to rest, kind of get healthy at the right time. So we really should be in for some awesome matchups. All right, my friend, anything else on the injury front you want to mention before we move on?
No, I think everything else is pretty good. I mean, overall, pretty healthy lineups all the way through.
Yeah, no, which is great to see for the playoffs. And we're going to get to the fun part now. Now we're talking about the actionable information where we have our hard-earned money and we are advising you to place yours. And the great place to place those bets is DraftKings. Playoffs? We're talking about the playoffs. You're damn right we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting them on DraftKings, the number 1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. We are going to be making a ton of picks. We're actually going to be using DraftKings lines here, so it's going to make it very easy for you. And for our new customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SGP. That's code SGP for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbooks. The crown is yours. Go ahead and hit this nice little disclaimer. Got the robots doing half of the ad read.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, let's get on to the fun, and I will kick us off with some of this fun. Folks, this is our banged up bets. If you are new to the show, first time, or simply just forget because maybe you've had a couple cocktails while you've been enjoying our show, which we highly recommend. Great way to enjoy football. Look, this is where we take it from the injury report and actually to the sports book. Actually, kind of what you care about, right? So, you could have Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, all these fucking nerds tell you, oh, this guy practiced, this guy didn't, blah, blah, blah. You got to understand, it's one thing to just report the injuries. It's another thing to understand them. That's where we feel we're kind of getting the edge here. And the first one I'm going to go after is Saquon Barkley over 20.5 rush attempts, minus 120. This is a little bit of a combo between, playing off the Jalen Hurts coming off the concussion and playing off the A.J. Brown news. And really the biggest thing, honestly, is the fact that they rested Saquon Barkley. He had the shot to go for this record. He could have really rubbed it in the Giants' nose there. Hey, I'm going to break Eric Dickerson's record, against my former team, yada, yada, yada. He understands he needs to be healthy for the playoffs. In order for this team to be at their best ability, Saquon Barkley needs to touch the ball a bunch. And I think he will, over 20 rush attempts. He hit this last time they played the Packers. Really, in most of the games they've won and most of the game the Packers have lost, the running back, especially the running back number one, obviously has gone over 20 and a half rush attempts. I think Saquon Barkley is going to get fed early and often. Especially if we hit 10 or so by the first half, I do think the second half where you're going to get a ton of Saquon Barkley. If you remember that game all the way back in week 1 out in Brazil, Saquon in really a lot of the year, it's been, maybe 3 yards in a cloud of thrust, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and then they really start to break it open in the second half. This Green Bay defense, although they're getting some guys back, they are a little bit banged up there. Some guys that haven't played in a couple weeks, they're not going to be wanting to tackle Saquon 20 plus times. So I think Saquon Barkley over 20 and a half rush attempts is a smash play there. Next, Isaiah Likely over 28 and a half receiving yards, minus 115. Zay Flowers, their best wide receiver, is out. Where is this team going to turn to? I think the tight end, it's a position that the Pittsburgh Steelers historically and especially this season have struggled to defend. He's hit this number in both the games he's played against the Steelers. Last game, he just had 29, but he had 75 and was the leading receiver the first time these two teams played. So I think they lean heavily on Isaiah Likely. Pittsburgh's going to try to take away a tight end. It's probably going to be Mark Andrews, who's been a touchdown machine recently for them. So if they put Minka Fitzpatrick on him or try to double, it's going to be Andrews. I don't see it being Likely. I think Likely's going to have some opportunities. And let's be honest, the guy runs like more of a wide receiver. I think he's a big play threat. This could be, 1 or 2 catches for him. So give me Likely over 28 and a half receiving yards. And then Javonte Williams over 14 and a half receiving yards. Sean Payton in this backfield has been very difficult to figure out. However, there's kind of been, I've been calling for it. It looks like Jaleel McLaughlin is getting the majority of the carries, but on third down, consistently, the guy that they put in there is Javonte Williams. It's similar to the Tampa Bay Bucs situation where you got Bucky Irving taking over the backfield from the rushing perspective, but Rachaad White is still their guy. To a fault a little bit, maybe, but Javonte Williams, he had 50 receiving yards last week. He had 30, 2 weeks ago. He is their receiving back. Buffalo has struggled against running backs out of the backfield, and this is an 8.5, 9-point spread. I do expect Denver to be playing from behind a little bit, having to throw the ball a little bit more. I think Javonte Williams is going to get plenty of snaps and plenty of touches. And 14 and a half yards for him, that's 2-3 catches, right? Especially in a game where you expect Buffalo to be up, and they're maybe not playing as tight of man defense. They're playing a little bit back. Those dump offs are going to be there for the rookie quarterback there. So, yeah, man, what do you think overall, the 3 bets?
Yeah, I really like, really all 3 of them, but especially the last 2, like you said, with Flowers being out, they need a way to stretch the field, and Isaiah Likely provides that for them. I have for years, not just since we started the show, have said that the Steelers' weakness is the tight end over the middle. They for whatever reason just get absolutely crushed, and Baltimore has 2 good ones. So Isaiah Likely probably won't get nearly the attention that Mark Andrews will. And then Javonte Williams, I think you hit the nail on the head with the dump off angle. So yeah, I really like all 3.
All right, brother. How about you? What do you got for us?
Let's start with Superman Josh Allen. I think this guy just goes ahead and puts his cape on really throughout the playoffs. But with getting Cooper back, everybody's really healthy. I don't see how he doesn't start to air it out and just really try to take this game over against the Denver defense that, yes, they've been really pretty solid all season, but the passing game is really the weaker area, I guess. I mean, you got Pat Surtain there. Other than that, definitely some weaker DBs there in Denver. So Josh Allen over 234.5 passing yards. Cade Otton is healthy. He's fully practiced, coming off that knee injury. And really, before he went down, he was the second option down there in Tampa Bay. I know McMillan has really stepped into that role quite nicely, but if Baker needs somebody to dump the ball off to, K. Dotton may also be that guy. So I went with his over 3.5 receptions on this one at plus 145. I looked at his receiving yards as well. I like that. I think it's right around 30, 31 and a half, something like that. But I really like K. Dotton this weekend coming off that injury. And we've already touched on it. Mike Evans gets locked down, so he's got to be searching for somebody else, and K. Dotton might be that guy. And then finally, King Henry, over 20.5 rush attempts at minus 125. Flowers being out, I think it's one of those things that this game might get ugly. And when it gets ugly, both teams just tend to turn to the running backs. I would not be surprised if Derrick Henry has 25, 30 carries in this game. If Baltimore is trying to run that clock out towards the end of the game, they're not giving it to anybody but King Henry. So,
yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, look, I think that, you're right with your Pat Surtain takes half the field, but you saw what Joe Burrow and T. Higgins did to the other half. I've been a fan of Riley Moss, this season, but he's a young player and he's still trying to figure it out. So, they definitely have a dominant, Pat Surtain for one half of the field, but kind of what's nice about this Buffalo offense, the fact that they don't really have a guy. So it's not like he's going to try to shut down, one particular guy. I think that Dalton Kincaid could have a nice day there for the tight ends. And I agree. I think that, this one might have a little bit more points than people are thinking with this defense. That
I think part of it may just be the whole weather thing in Buffalo. It's supposed to be like 30 and sunny on Sunday. So
you would just assume with no research, you're just assuming like, oh, well, it's snowing. It's a shithole everywhere else in the world right now, weather-wise. So it's got to be bad in Buffalo. So no, man. And then Kate On, I think is smart. I mean, he was definitely a key piece of that offense before he went out. So much so I agree. Like, I think people forget that Lattimore really has success against Mike Evans. Yep. He's like one of the few guys in the National Football League that really can kind of lock him down per se. So I do like the on play. And then Derrick Henry is very similar to the Saquon play as far as a team that's favored, a team that you expect to be up in the second half. And he's someone that they need to lean on. This running game has to be, it has to be the future of this because, and
I was going to say the last time we saw the Ravens in the playoffs, they gave the running backs 6 carries. Mm-hmm. Who better to remember, hey, the running game's pretty good than a guy like Derrick Henry. So
I think that's a great point. All right, folks, we are going to move on. Before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Underdog. Look, folks, don't worry. I got you covered here. DraftKings is telling us this game, this Notre Dame Penn State game isn't kicking off until at least 7:45. We knew this was happening. We've got you covered. You don't want to go anywhere because our best bets and our Degen Parlay are coming up. But before that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. That's right. Underdog Fantasy, they've got it all. They've got college football. Yes, you can put a slip in right now on Notre Dame, Penn State. They've got college basketball, MMA, and of course, the king of all leagues, the NFL. Sign up with promo code SGPNDOC to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000. UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPNDOC. And of course, we love Underdog so much. We're going to give out our Underdog pick of the week here. That is, I'll let you talk about your guy off the top here, Josh Allen.
Yeah, let's keep Superman doing his thing. Higher than 40.5 rushing yards. He'll do it through the air. He'll do it through the running game. He'll probably get in the end zone somehow or another. Josh Allen, no lowers on Josh Allen this weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. It's playoffs, man. No, any type of training, restraints they try to put on him. He's going to go out there and play with reckless abandonment, and that's the best version of Josh Allen. Now Lamar Jackson, lower than 48.5 rush yards. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Zay Flowers, they're going to try to key in on the run game. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers we're talking about. One of the best things they do on their entire team is contain the quarterbacks, and they're especially familiar with Lamar Jackson. Lamar is 2-2 for the lower on this number this year. He had 46 in the first matchup, and I think only 20 or something like that last matchup. So whether their team's having success or not, the Pittsburgh Steelers all season have been great against the quarterback scrambles. They've played guys like Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Lamar twice. Like, it's not for a lack of trying. They're just very good. Tomlin knows Lamar very well. So I expect them to be able to contain him at least on the ground. And then Bucky Irving, higher than 87.5 rush yards. I don't know if they could have set this number high enough that we wouldn't have took the higher. I think he's got an amazing matchup. I thought Jonathan Allen returning to that Washington front seven would be a huge difference. Clearly it's not been. They've been very susceptible on the ground. Bijan ran all over him 2 weeks ago. Rico Dowdle and Trey Lance ran on them last week. I think Bucky Irving, especially, we've talked about this many times, but Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore, it's not going to be as simple for that Bucs offense. I think they understand that. I think they run the ball with Bucky Irving. They're a run-first team. So give me Bucky Irving higher than 87.5 yards. So that's Josh Allen higher than 40.5 rushing yards. Lamar Jackson lower than 48.5 rushing yards. And Bucky Irving higher than 87.5 rushing yards. Put that all together for a nice 6x your money. As you can see here, $15 wins you $90. But don't forget, promo code SGPNDoc for a 100% or 50% match up to $1,000. All right, folks, it is the time. It's time for our best bets. This is our Docs prescription. We've got our prescriptions, our best bets, and our Degen Parlay, and we'll get you out of here before they kick that thing off there in Miami. So I will start us off. This is first best bet of the NFL playoffs. Look, we've only got 6 games, so we dropped it down to 3 locks instead of 4. So I'm going to start off with an under here. I think this Chargers and Houston. Breaking news. The game I'm going to talk about at the end, Vikings-Ram has been moved to Arizona due to the weather out there in California. Just came through the phone there.
What a situation there. Holy smokes.
Due to the fires, which, first of all, prayers up. Hopefully everyone is okay out there in California. If you're listening, obviously, hopefully everything is safe. And it's some crazy winds out there. So hopefully everything gets under control. But getting back to this pick, the Chargers, Houston under 41.5. I think these are just two teams that are struggling offensively that are led by their defense. It's the playoffs. Both these teams are going to want to run the ball, going to want to establish some clock management, especially the Chargers. I do like the Chargers a little bit in this matchup. So I think if they want to dictate, how this game is going to go, it's going to be led from their defense and their running game, right? You've got no Josh Palmer. Quentin Johnston's a little bit banged up. You're going to want to lean on JK and Gus Edwards to take over. And then, the last time Houston's played a team with a pulse, I'm not going to include the Titans in that last week.
Yeah,
they put up 2 points. Their offense scored 0 against the Ravens, and then they scored 19, and that was the game where Tank Dell, he scored one of those touchdowns and then went out for the season. So I think that it's just pretty simple. I think this game is going to remind people what NFL playoff football is all about. And it's a lot harder to score in the playoffs. Everyone's playing at 110%. I could see a nice 14-10 game, something like that. So give me the under on that one. Next play, Pittsburgh plus 9.5. These teams know each other very well. This game has been a 1-score game for the past, 90% of the time for the past 10 years. Really, the last game they played, I think, is a little bit of an anomaly. I don't think that is the true. Russell Wilson, 2 turnovers, 1 pick six, one as they were about to score. A completely different game if he doesn't do that. They obviously beat the Ravens earlier in the year. And Zay Flowers is a really big deal, guys. Huge. I know that it's Lamar, it's King Henry. Pittsburgh's a much better run defense than they are a pass defense. They've had problems in the back end. And you take away the most dynamic player on the Baltimore Ravens, I don't know why this number is really not moved. I mean, I understand maybe they were factoring that in the whole time that he wasn't going to play, but I think 9.5 points is just entirely too much for this division rival. So I like Tomlin and them. I think this is a way more closer to a field goal game, and then Minnesota minus 1.5. A little bit it was, the distraction out in LA right now. They had to kind of cancel a little bit of practice. Obviously, the game's going to be moved to now closer to a neutral site. I didn't think the Rams were going to have a huge home field advantage anyway, but I just think Minnesota is simply the better team. This opened at closer to 3. Now it's kind of gotten bet down. A lot of people are talking about the Rams, talking themselves into the Rams. Well, the Vikings defense, I know they give up a lot of pass yards, but they're a solid defense. They've had a turnover in every single game this year, and they're particularly good against the run. Sean McVay, despite Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, all those different things, they're a run-first team. They want to get the running game going and work off play action. It's going to be difficult for them to do. I really like Minnesota's rush defense, who's coming in very healthy. I think that, the Rams' rush defense themselves is not very good. I think Aaron Jones has himself quite the day. And I like Minnesota to get the job done there. I think they bounce back. Everyone just saw them look bad against the Lions. We got to realize, guys, the Lions are one of the top teams. And, if the Vikings just convert a couple of those red zone situations, it's a completely different game. Like, they were in that game despite what the final score may say. So I'm going to take the Vikings there on the road. Looks like that game will now be in Arizona, kind of more of a neutral site. So they might even have the fans at that point. So, yeah, man, what about you? Where are you at with your best bets?
Yeah, let me talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, just like you did. I mean, you've already touched on them, but I'll give a couple additional things. In part of it's the Zay Flowers loss. I mean, the starting quarterbacks for the Steelers are long, they're lanky, they're fast, but the agility, the lateral movement that Zay Flowers has, they don't really match up with that. They can match up with Rashad Bateman really, really well. So I would not be surprised if we see one of those guys on an Isaiah Likely or a Mark Andrews to really try to keep this within that 9.5, the 9.5 line. But historically, the Steelers own the Ravens over the last 5-6 years, and really, I think it's 8 of the last 10, maybe 9 of the last 10 have been one-score games. So definitely taking the Steelers at plus 9.5. I'm on the opposite side. I'm taking the Rams plus 1.5, and I would sprinkle some on the money line here, partially due to the Rams just getting a little bit of rest last week. But have we forgotten who the Vikings played last week? That was the
biting kneecaps trend?
The biting kneecaps trend has been pretty good all season long. The Rams have definitely had the more playoff experience. Matt Stafford, I'm taking him every day, twice on Sunday, twice, maybe 3 times this Monday, compared to Sam Darnold. So give me the Rams in that one. And then finally, the Buffalo Bills. I'm fading Sam Darnold because this is his first playoff start. I'm fading Bo Nix because this is his first playoff start. At the beginning of the season, I think the win total for Denver was, I think way back, it was like 5.5. Then it bumped up to 6.5. The Broncos are doing pretty well just to make it to the playoffs. Yes, they have a really good team, but Buffalo's been manhandling really good teams all season. I mean, the Lions have 2 losses, 1 to Buffalo. They almost squeaked out one against the Rams, where Josh Allen probably ended up winning the MVP and put the team on his back and scored 42 points. But in this one, I think Buffalo runs away with this one. I almost bumped this one up to 9.5, even 10.5. I think this one's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, no, obviously I'm on you with the Pittsburgh side. The Bills game, I've been going back and forth. I do like Denver, but this might be tough going into Buffalo with a rookie quarterback. I could see it definitely having blowout potential in that one. I do think it'll be a little bit higher scoring, but I could see like a 42-24 game or something like that. So obviously this is good. I like the disagreement. We're going to be battling with the Rams and the Minnesota Vikings on Monday night. So yeah, we'll see where you're at. I will say, Kevin O'Connell, man, he is a damn good coach. I like McVay, but I think holistically,
McVay's not too bad himself.
I think the Minnesota defense is going to play a role here. All right, folks, it is the last part of the show and arguably the best part of the show because we are getting Degen. We're letting the full Degen flag fly, and looks like you're kicking us off with our Degens only parlay.
I have 4 guys that need to get in the end zone, 2 of which get in the end zone a shit ton. Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, would not be surprised if they both score 1, maybe 2, to put their teams on top this weekend. K. Dotton coming off that knee injury. I already touched on it. Mike Evans is going to get covered by Marshawn Lattimore. K. Dotton, I like his receiving yards. I like his receptions. Give me him to get in the end zone. And then the more wild card is Tutu Atwell. He is the third option out there in now Arizona for the Rams. But this dude is a big play machine and somehow has not found the end zone all season. I don't know how he hasn't found the end zone as a big of a play receiver as he is. So I think this is his time. Give me Tutu Atwell, K. Dotton, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen to get in the end zone at 87-1.
Yeah, no, I like it, man. I like it. Tutu is definitely, the risky one. I like him. He's a like you said, a big play guy, so he could definitely break one for the Rams there. All right, I will finish this up here. So I'm going a little bit different this week. I've got 3 guys that you can bet on themselves and call it a Degen play. So I encourage you to bet them in a round robin style so you can get a little more bang for your buck there. Give me Darius Davis, wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers. He scored in 2 out of the past 3 weeks here. No Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston's beat up, J.K. Dobbins beat up. They like to get him in creative looks around the red zone. He's their speedster. So I love him at 5-1 to get in the end zone there. Also, Nate Atkins. He's the third leading touchdown receiver there for the Denver Broncos. He doesn't get a lot of looks, but where he gets a lot of looks is in the red zone. 15-1 for him, a guy who already has 3 touchdowns on the year, I think is absolutely absurd. And then Jalen Naylor, a guy who has 6 touchdowns on the year himself. Everyone's going to be focused on Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Just like the betting marks, it's the defense is going to be all sucked in there. Jalen Naylor is a guy who has been productive for this team. He's got a great relationship with Sam Darnold. So I love him to get in the end zone at plus 550. I encourage you to round robin it, but if you want to be a true Degen and put it all together, 632-1.
That might be a record for the season.
Off with a bang. The only one I want to mention really quick, Minnesota, anytime touchdown on their defense. I wasn't able to find a line other than a first touchdown. If that drops, especially if it's close to 5-1, they've got a turnover in every game. Andrew Van Ginkel has been cooked. He's had 2 pick sixes himself. The Rams love the screen game. Watch out. I think that's definitely up for play there. So, all right, man, we did it. Looks like this game is just about to kick off. Do you have anything for the good people before we get out of here?
No, I mean, enjoy this extravagant weekend of football. I would like to thank the university that I teach at for not allowing or waiting to start the semester until this Monday. And we all know Monday and Tuesday are syllabus days. It's fine. I'll be drinking with all of y'all on Monday night as well. So if you haven't already, smash the follow buttons on X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all those things. The Degen Doc himself throws all kinds of shit out on X to give you guys all the latest and greatest info on all injuries and some other things too. So make sure you're following us on those things.
Yeah, as my co-host wonderfully alluded to, yes, look, there's still some practice reports updates to come out. X is the best spot if you guys want kind of up-to-date stuff. I usually do a roundup of all the information injury-wise for the end of the day. So that is where I encourage you at the Degen Doc there. But look, folks, this is going to be such an awesome week of football, man. I already told y'all about a month and a half ago.
We don't even have to wait for the weekend. We are getting started right now.
Right now. Like, this is 5 straight days of playoff football. I took off work on tomorrow and Monday just to prepare for the absolutely amazing football we have. So, hey, we appreciate football and we appreciate all of you. Again, a like, subscribe, a 5-star rating, a download. All that takes a couple seconds while you're just enjoying some football with a nice cocktail there. So we appreciate you, folks. And, hey, listen, we will be back next week. Hopefully you're back with us with a nice fat bag of cash, tailing all of our picks. Until then, you know what they say, folks. A lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the Degen Docs, we've got your prescription. All right, folks, enjoy some awesome postseason football, and don't forget to
let it ride.
What's up, Degens? Doc here. As a proud member of the U.S. Army and a lover of football, sometimes those two things cross over on here. But as you probably already know, as a lowly captain, these are just my opinions. These are not opinions that are representative of the entire DoD or the U.S. Army. The same thing goes for any references to any commercial products or hyperlinks. Again, that does not constitute an endorsement from the DoD